What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome back to episode 2 of And Still, a wrestling podcast. I'm Morgan, and I'm joined here with my co-hosts Kevin and Drew. And today we have a action-packed hour. We're going to talk about some of the best wrestling drama going on in the headlines. We've got CM Punk drama. We've got Jey Uso drama. We've got drama with MJF and Adam Cole in the pre-show of all things. But before we get into it, let's kick the show off.
Welcome to the And Still, a wrestling podcast, your weekly podcast covering the latest in the world of professional wrestling.
Gotta love that intro. By the way, I made it, so that's why I love it so much. But let's kick off this roller coaster ride talking about CM Punk and the drama. Really, I mean, come on. Are we in 2022? No, we're in 2023. We're back again. It's more CM Punk drama, but a little bit different. So he's stirring up the world of AEW, and we are definitely going to talk about it. Not really just ruffling the feathers of the elite, but even more wrestlers and talent in the behind the scenes, and even some of the staff on there as well. Kevin, I'll let you kind of set the stage for us. Tell us where we're at, update us real quick, and give us some of your thoughts to kick us off.
Yes, I want to first start off by thanking CM Punk for providing plenty of content that we can discuss. So with that said, let's talk about what was discussed this week in regards to CM Punk. So he continues to be a lightning rod in the industry. Some people call him a cancer. I don't know if I agree with that, but let's go right to what was discussed. So what do we know? On Saturday night in North Carolina, they had gone off air, and there was a sign that triggered CM Punk to again shoot on Hangman Adam Page. So the sign said, "This is Hangman country," and Punk went along the lines of the reason why he's called Hangman is because his figures are hanging on the shelves in stores and not moving, unlike CM Punk, who moves merchandise, brings in ratings, so on and so forth. It was unsolicited, unwarranted, and the man is just a loose cannon. That we know for a fact. From there, I've read 3 different reports. They all similar say the same. However, the first 2 said that they believe it was a complete shoot and not planned whatsoever, and that it's not an angle. And the third did agree this is likely an angle and we're being worked. So that being what it was, let's talk about the other facts that we know. And again, something just happened within the last few hours that I just learned about. So the first thing is we learned that 3 people were sent home this week from Collision being at the location. The first being Ryan Nemeth. The second being Christopher Daniels, who is the head of talent relations. And the third being Hangman, being told that he needs to shoot his piece, but it can't be done on location. It has to be done somewhere else. In the other 2 cases, both of those talents were booked a return flight to return home. I'm not sure what the situation was with performing and what have you, since they never got to even see the arena. We don't know exactly what happened with Hangman. We believe that he was able to shoot his vignette or whatever they needed him to do off-site and then also left the venue. Again, so a couple of things there. Why do we have one talent dictating who and who is not allowed in the building? Second of all, you're sending home your head of talent relations. What kind of message is that sending to the locker room? And then the third thing is, if you're going to have the eventual CMFTR fight the Elite and Hangman Adam Page, we're so far away from that at this point. And again, we're quite possibly being worked. I don't know. What I did just learn about is there was also an incident a few weeks back where Jungle Boy was setting up his vignette, and there was a situation where they had to break some glass, and Perry wanted to use real glass. And even though he was told by Tony Schiavone it wasn't a good idea and it was against safety and what have you, he insisted that he wanted to use real glass. CM Punk saw that as an opportunity for Jungle Boy to take next week off, saying he was hurt when he was cut by glass, and he didn't take kindly to that. So he pulled Jungle Boy to the side and had a conversation with him and said, we don't do that shit on Saturday nights. If you want to do that shit, go do it on Wednesday nights. So again, yes, Morgan, Andrew.
It's like, I was just going to say, when they said when Jack Perry wants to work with real glass, it's like, man, did nobody learn not to use with real glass from Goldberg? Do you remember, like, I think, what was it, 99, 2000, where Goldberg's just like, yeah, I'm just going to punch my fist through glass, and like nearly got lacerated himself so badly. He nearly suffered an amputation of his whole hand.
And that's unusual because that was safety glass in that limo, and he still was able to gouge his arm out pretty good.
No. He hit the one, he was supposed to bust one. And it was, that's where the safety glass was. But he decided that wasn't enough. And he went to the other window that's real glass and just popped right through. And like I said, don't mess with real glass, guys. It's not smart.
Well, apparently the whole idea got shot down and it was scrapped anyhow. But again, it just shows how this reminds me of when CM Punk lost his mind on the press conference and Tony Khan just sat there and took it. I'm starting to think that Tony Khan is a CM Punk fanboy, and I think that could be the crack in the dam further down the road, because talent's going to start to say, hey, this guy doesn't run the show. He's just a talent. He's not even part of the executive team, yet he's sending people home from arenas. These people are losing paychecks because of CM Punk. I mean, from what I read, the whole Ryan Nemeth story was, upon Punk's return, Ryan Nemeth had tweeted, quote unquote, literally the softest man in AEW. Apparently Punk didn't like that too much. I'm not even sure what that means completely, but apparently they had a face-to-face. Punk said, do you have a problem with me? Ryan Nemeth said no, but here we are this past weekend. Nemeth is booked to work. He shows up at the arena. He's sent home with a plane ticket. What do you guys think?
An analogy I've always heard of that described it nicely. It's like, they said, picture you're at Target and there's an employee, and the employee wins the employee of the month, year or something at Target. And when he gets up there on the stage and they celebrate him for his accomplishment, he proceeds to bury everybody that he works with. He's sent home. And then after, X amount of months, he's brought back and they build him an entirely new Target that he's going to work at. It's like, that's the CM Punk situation in a nutshell. It's like they went out of their way to build another organization basically in AEW for this guy.
Yeah, to that point, be careful. We're going to get heat with Target workers.
Fair enough. Also, let me clarify something, since I'm the one that collects the wrestling figures, I guess, and stuff like that. Yeah, he referred to Hangman as a peg warmer, and he said he went to the store and he saw nothing. There were all these Hangmans. I can confirm this for you right now. That's Walmart, because Walmart has this exclusive Adam Hangman Page figure that only they got, and you can go into any Walmart now and they've got 20 of it, and that's because it's the exclusive and stuff like that. If you go to any other stores, I'll joke. It's like, I say this in jest, but the reality of it is, you know who the real peg warmer in AEW is? Santana and Ortiz. It's like, I can tell you right now, I can go in everything and I can find you Pride and Powerful. No questions asked.
So, Drew, the question is, do you have the Hangman Adam Page exclusive Walmart figure?
No. It's like, I've thought about buying it, but I mean, I'm not in any hurry. There's 20 of them in the damn store. What's the rush?
Nice. So, if we look at this historically, have we ever seen anything like this before? The only thing I can think of really is creative control. A talent having quote unquote creative control over his character and angles. And it almost seems like CM Punk has that, but it goes beyond matchmaking and it goes to real life people not getting opportunities at their job. He's almost like a puppet master. What do you guys think?
My thing is, I got to point this out too. It's like, as we're leading up to, I assume we're eventually going to get CMFTR versus the Elite and stuff like that. I always thought it was going to be the three of them against the Bucks and Omega. I'm convinced that's where we're being worked. But as far as like Hangman goes, it's like I'm not gonna lie, man. I kind of think it blurs the reality because it almost seems to me like anytime Hangman exists, it just pisses him off. And this is my personal opinion. I literally think it's because of the fact that Hangman went out there in that interview, last year, shot on him, did his shoot, said what he had to say. And then every time there's been an altercation with him, he just blows. It's like he just consistently blows CM Punk off. And I think I think there is a possibility. It's like, does it get under CM Punk's skin that no matter what he says and what he does, Hangman just seems to ignore him and says, it's not worth my time and effort?
In that scenario, I think Hangman's the bigger man. You got to remember, and if I'm not mistaken here, when CM Punk beat Hangman for the belt, there were 2 stiff shots. One time he got chopped in the mouth, and somewhere along the lines he chipped CM Punk's tooth. CM Punk has never receded him for that. So I think that CM Punk is likely a very passive-aggressive person, and I think he's very easily triggered. I gotta ask, I mean, like as the owner of the federation, Tony Khan, like, how long do you let this continue? How many times can this guy do this and get away with it? Like, I gotta wonder what's happening behind the scenes. Does Tony just cower when this happens? We all know he's at the show. He was at Collision the night we were there. He's at pretty much all of the shows, if I'm not mistaken. So again, like, what is Tony's reaction? And are we being worked?
If you use WWE logic, it's how long are you going to let him do it? It's like, as long as he continues making us money.
Good point. Morgan, what are your thoughts?
I can definitely see the angle about the money. I mean, if he really truly is, I mean, when I watch the shows and when we went and visited and took part of Collision that was in our hometown, I saw a lot of CM Punk merchandise being worn. So it's not shocking to me that he would be leading or up there at the top with merch sales for AEW. And, they need any money they can get. I mean, right now it seems like they're still trying to build. They're still kind of in a weird spot with viewership. It's kind of seemed like it peaked out and it's kind of like dropping a little bit. And, with college football coming around, I'm getting nervous about that. So they need the money they can get. And this guy is obviously selling merchandise because of, all the things he's done in his career. And he's been a controversial guy in his career. So it's not shocking to me that this guy is like, bucking the system, even within the new system. But as you guys both mentioned, it is extremely weird for me. And even before Collision started, it's extremely weird for me that a multimillionaire a son of a multimillionaire would create a separate show seemingly for CM Punk and then also give him control over said separate show. I have never seen anything like this before. I don't think it's a good idea. Obviously, we're seeing issues arise already. If it's a work, it's probably one of the best angles that we have going on right now, but I just don't see it. I do feel like that CM Punk is one of those guys that kind of likes to throw jabs when the other guy's not in the room. And he likes to make a joke that's also actually very, very serious. And so his little, jokingly serious jab is in the locker room not coming off as such. And they're taking it serious. And because it really is actually how he feels about these guys. And so I think he's really showing you his true colors. I do worry about AEW. I worry about Collision for many different reasons. But it does seem like that there is a guy who is disrupting more than just his, as you mentioned, Kevin, more than just his career. And I don't think that's going to be something that is sustainable for a long time period. I used to complain about Roman Reigns getting preferential treatment, and I used to complain about Brock Lesnar getting preferential treatment, but giving a guy who has done, all sorts of good for your company, a limited schedule like Brock Lesnar. Now looking back, I would much rather have that than what AEW has with CM Punk.
Yeah. And, you brought up a couple of points there. So the first one is, what are the chances that CM Punk has a sweetheart deal with being on Collision because he's $1 Million Phil? I mean, according to him in his interview, he said he was directly called out in the fact that TNT was going to air Collision exclusively, and they called him $1 Million Phil because he brings in the viewers. Drew?
I got a hypothetical question here that I've also wondered about. It's like, so, he doesn't go back and forth. He basically stays on Collision and stuff. It's like, you don't suppose AEW would take the WWE route. And I've considered this. It's like, you don't suppose that, like, because they don't seem to be making any CM Punk's got the quote unquote real world's championship. And they don't seem to be moving towards him actually facing the MJF, who is the AEW world champion. You don't think we do this, would they? That like, okay, MJF stays on Dynamite as the AEW champion, and then we're just going to keep CM Punk over here as the real world's champion, which is the main championship on Collision.
I think that that's exactly what they're doing. Collision, quote unquote, needs a belt, and that belt is the unofficial real world heavyweight champion.
So that belt's really not going anywhere then, if by that account.
I would assume that. However, and this is probably a topic we can talk about next week, but we have All In and All Out separated by 1 week. And what I've heard announced for All In so far isn't spectacular. So we kind of need to save some fireworks for All Out the week afterwards. Or are we just going to get 2 half-assed pay-per-views back to back?
Not ruling that out.
So here's my thing about pay-per-views, though. As much as I don't like the things that are going on, you can't really say Tony doesn't know how to pull some awesome pay-per-view out of his butt. I mean, if not Tony, then the guys he has paid really give 110% in their matches. I do feel like that AEW can put on a doggone good show when it comes to a pay-per-view. So it may not look the best, and sometimes it's not. But man, some of the pay-per-views that I've seen, I walk away like, wow, these guys are actually really talented. Now their weekly shows, really, really hurt me over time, but the pay-per-views seem to hit for me just personally.
No, I agree. There have been, you could probably count on one hand the subpar matches on a pay-per-view since they've really started. And for the most part, they hit home runs with pay-per-views. And I will agree that the TV shows can be spotty. To your point, a lot of them don't make any sense. Why is this guy fighting that guy? There's no story. But again, you got 170-something people on the roster, and you got to keep them in rotation.
Question: is this the first? Is All In going to be the first pay-per-view we've had since they've started Collision? Am I right on that, or?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. So I kind of feel like we're going to know how much of this is real or not, because there's no way that, Collision or All In will be the first time that like the Elite and CM Punk have to be in the same place at the same time. So yes. I guess we'll figure out from there, like, okay, is this real or not? Because we'll have a good indicator there, I think.
Yeah. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall in that locker room that night?
It's going to, like I said, oh Lord, it's like putting them back together as, a unit, and like I said, like when the show's over, it's like, do we stick around for the press release? I mean, it's gonna be All In, so like it's gonna be in the middle of the afternoon. It's like you'll be eating dinner about the time that CM Punk may or may not be going off in a press release.
Yep. Yeah, if they're smart, they won't put him in front of anybody again.
All seriousness though, I appreciate what they do with those post media scrubs, but I think those have done more harm than good.
I don't disagree. I mean, you can't script it and they're not given an outline of what to say. So some of them are in character, some of them are out of character. And yes, they have been very interesting. And again, they took that from New Japan. New Japan's been doing press conferences right after their matches for many, many years. And to your point, sometimes it goes well and sometimes it's a shit show.
I honestly do like it. I mean, me coming from that college football background, I'm all about the press conference. I mean, that's where I get most of my information, most of my, tweets, my quotes, my hot takes is from what the coaches say before the season, before and after practice, before and after games, what the players say. But as you mentioned, Kevin, it's like what's real and what's not. But I mean, that's also kind of the point of wrestling, right? Watching pro wrestling and knowing and not knowing what's real and what's not. And we've lost that over the years, and especially with social media and leaks and just all that kind of stuff getting out before you really want it. That what we remember in the 90s is no longer there. But I do like the press conference as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I have watched a few of them. And, sometimes, like I said, sometimes the wrestlers are really good and sometimes they just don't know what to say. So with that said, Morgan, let me throw it back to you.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it, Kevin. Great topic. Hey, let us know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to rate our podcast after you listen to it. We really appreciate all the love and support from everybody out there. This is episode 2 of And Still, a Wrestling Podcast. Segment 2, topic number 2, shifting gears. We're going to jump into an unexpected twist over on WWE. Jey Uso's apparent departure from WWE last week took an unforeseen turn as Jey, after super kicking, I think literally everyone, decides to throw the deuces up and say, deuces, and I'm out of here, and left through the audience. I'll throw it over to Drew for this one to kick us off. Give us a little background on it for those who may have missed it, and start off with your thoughts.
Well, we talked about this with SummerSlam, and if you really kind of look around the internet and listen to people and stuff like that, a lot of people considered the whole thing with Jimmy Uso, coming out there and costing Jey Uso the match at SummerSlam. They all kind of saw it as a misstep in the whole bloodline angle. An angle, of course, that's been, honestly, probably the best wrestling angle in forever, really. It's like, so we're all kind of curious. And like I said, I think on the last podcast, like I said, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt to explain themselves. This whole angle's been so good. I figure they'll give me some decent reason to it. And the reason Jimmy, we found out, of course, was he said, I did this because I didn't want you to end up corrupted like Roman, is. And again, when I heard that, I was kind of like, I guess it works, but I wasn't 100%. I wasn't invested in it. I did not get reinvested in the bloodline angle until I saw Jey at the end just decide he's had enough. Super kicking Roman, dealing with Solo, spears Roman, comes out to the ring, back of the ring, and it's like, looks at Jimmy, is like, come back here, brother, holds his arms out, and then proceeds to super kick him and say, I'm out. Now, initially I saw the stories, and I don't know if this is true, because I definitely am putting this on speculation, was they were saying like, oh, his contract ends on like August 20 something or other, which would give him enough ample time that if they wanted to, Jey could show up at All In. But let's just go ahead with this one. There is a 99% chance that the WWE would never, ever, 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 ever let Jey Uso slip away if his contract realistically is up. He's way too important to the most important storyline that they've had over the last 2 decades. It's like, if his contract theoretically really was up, this would be just an ample opportunity for Jey Uso to make a boatload of money, because at this point he's so important to this storyline. It's just like he could come in there and just say, hey, I want X amount of dollars, and the WWE's probably go like, all right, man, whatever you want, man. It's like, it's all good as long as we keep this thing going. Realistically, he's probably just going to get some vacation. It's like, I personally think this leads to what they talked about, where Jimmy and Jey have expressed interest that they want to do brother versus brother at WrestleMania.
So to that point, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a leak late last week announcing the match between the two brothers at Payback being refereed by their father, Rikishi. Did either of you guys see that?
No. And it's like, I almost kind of, when I hear that, I'm like, it's like, I immediately go to, it's like, why would they do this so quickly? Like, it's like, it almost feels like you would be jumping the gun to do this at, Payback now. It's like, I do kind of feel like Jimmy versus Jey at this point could be a WrestleMania match. And I feel like the angle actually, enhances itself by just Jey not being here for a while, and him making a big return and making a deal about it. Let Jim, and giving Jimmy, that for that matter, a chance to kind of just flesh himself out, because he's kind of like right now the one that's getting left behind in this entire angle, with like doesn't have a personality or a motive without Jey being there.
So has there been any talk prior to last week's SmackDown that his contract was quote unquote up?
I don't think so. And that's why I saw it at first, and and they said like, oh, he could be here at All In. And I was like, okay, that would be huge. But then the further I tried to dig into that, I'm like, I don't see any evidence here that his contract realistically is up.
Yeah. And if you step back and you look at the big picture, he would be a fool to leave the WWE at this stage of his career and jump. His merchandise sales, his angle could never be duplicated in AEW, even if you threw him the championship on night one. The angle has made those brothers. Granted, they're phenomenal wrestlers, but that whole bloodline angle is, bar none, one of the best in the last 10 years.
Yeah, because realistically, before this angle started, it's like the Usos were probably one of the best tag teams that the WWE had. But now it's like we're at a point now where like Jey is a bona fide main event star that you can believe in the mid card, possibly upper mid card as is, and possibly even ascending higher. You could see Jimmy being in that position. You could see Solo in that position now. Like they're all like on their own now, legitimate threats. And that was something that was prior to 2020 was not a thing. This is like Roman's plan, I guess, if it was, or Heyman's plan, whoever's writing this storyline, to elevate the entire family has worked beautifully.
Yeah. You know what? I miss Sami Zayn. I need more Usi in my life.
Yeah, about that. We kind of talked about that, and I think that's actually come up with the fact that like a lot of people have kind of referenced the fact, it's like the storyline's good and great, but like it was at its best with Sami, and it's like Sami was that weird glue that made this thing work. And I've actually kind of like, this is just one of my random predictions. I started asking myself that is like, if Jay's gone and he's not relying on his brother Jimmy, is like, does Jey go to get Sami, to help him with this, with the bloodline? Because now we're definitely at a point where he could look at him as like, hey man, you were right about all this.
So, one other interesting point that I was mulling around this week is the fact that we have the writers and the Screen Actors Guild on strike. That means The Rock has really nothing to do right now. Yeah. What are the chances? What are the chances?
I don't see why not. It's like, he seems like the kind of guy I would assume would, like he knows this angle. He's aware of this angle. And, come on, it can't take that much to persuade him to like come out here, help the family. And, it's like, we don't know when this strike is going to end. Let's get something in as quickly as we can, and do the angle. It's like, I don't care if it's Payback or anything. It's like, it'll Survivor Series or whatever. You can main event any pay-per-view with just doing the quick one-off Rock versus Roman Reigns.
So, Drew, if the pencil was in your hand, how would you book it?
I think we've got a game plan for WrestleMania. So, at this point, I would just book it as, Rock and Roman Reigns at I'd go for Survivor Series. See if we can get this to November and make that the big blow-off pay-per-view. But 100%, like if I had to book the angle of like what Rock and them feuding at, I'd have Dwayne out there 100%, basically arguing the point that like you're the figurative head of the table. I'm the actual, head of the table. I'm like Rock being the one who's like, I'm the one who actually in this family puts food on everybody's table. It's like, how it's like when Tamina needed a house, it's like she comes to me. When Haku needed, gets a car, he's coming to me. It's like I'm the one that has the real, force in the family.
So to that point, you would have The Rock put over Roman Reigns, because the payoff we know is going to be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and potentially that's when they'll swap the belt. I mean, we're going to build for a year plus on that. So what would you have The Rock do if he came back?
100% there. It's like, yeah, Rock is like The Rock has to put over Roman Reigns. I don't see that being a problem. It's like I totally could see Rock just being an absolute team player, and like that seems like something even he would be on board, to do, is that I'm gonna make Roman Reigns look like $1 million so that he is that guy. And then if we're like a year or so down the line, if like Roman decides, hey, maybe it's his turn to go to Hollywood, it still transitions. Like he's that other, he's that guy.
Does the match have to be a match? Can we just bring The Rock in for whatever purpose, whatever they decide to book, and still put Roman Reigns over? Does there have to be a match? I guess that's the question.
There doesn't have to. I guess not. But like, I take that back. I really do feel like this has to have a match.
Morgan, what do you think?
I don't want to rock Roman Reigns match at all, to be honest. I mean, the way as you guys are talking about it, and again, I'm honestly, I'm very much removed from WWE. I watched it for probably 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years ago. But I'm on again, off again with them, and I actually watched SmackDown and Raw this last week. But so maybe I'm falling back in love with them. But The Rock is my guy. Like he did not need to be in this storyline up until this point, and it's gained a lot of momentum, and it's been a very popular storyline. And Roman Reigns has been able to hold the title belt for the longest. I mean, he's not the longest ever. I know that, but he's up there, right? And maybe second. I don't know, but he has built it up enough to where there's no need for The Rock to put him over. And for me, that would just really hurt The Rock mostly. I don't want to see The Rock come in here and try to have that kind of storyline and only to lose in the end. That's just like, I guess it's more of my Rock fandom coming out, and then he goes back into being the movie star again. I don't know. Like, to me, they can milk this bloodline thing with the brothers still for the rest of the year.
I was gonna say, it's like, can we also, it's like, I hate to do this, but it's like, can we also address the elephant in the room? It's like Rock and Roman Reigns feud is going to be a lot of really good promos back and forth. But boy, when you get that match, it's going to be Superman punch, people's elbow, rock bottom, spear, and repeat those 4 moves for a solid 15, 20 minutes. It's like, because I suddenly think about it, it's like, that's all they're going to do.
So if we riff along the lines of tribal and then put whatever adjective you want or noun, tribal council, tribal survival match, what if we had The Rock come in and just acknowledge Roman Reigns in a tribal acknowledgement ceremony? Put a lei around his neck, hold up the one, so on and so forth. Would that be a rub?
That would be a huge rub. But it's like, wow, that'd be a ballsy move for the WWE to use it just like that.
And my thought is just why is that necessary, I guess, from your opinion?
So since this started over 2 years ago, there was always talk that the payoff would be Rock versus Roman Reigns. So I guess that's been instilled in my head since the launch of this angle, which again has been 2+ years. The payoff is that, because it's that NOI family and they're all interlinked. We all know that The Rock was a megastar and he continues to be a megastar. Well, Roman Reigns is the current day megastar. We need that Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man payoff, so to speak.
But Morgan, to your defense, you're kind of right. Like, we've gotten this far and we kind of don't need it at this. It's like, I mean, it's like I'm down for it if they want to do it, but at the same time, like, if they don't do it, we seem to still be okay.
And I think it needs to be done and worked out or resolved by the time you get Cody back involved, because I think Cody is at the point in his career. He doesn't need some sort of cheap win. You know, he doesn't need like to win because 17 Usos come out and help him get over Roman Reigns. You know, I think he needs to win straight up. It needs to be a battle between the two monsters. And I think the brothers storyline doesn't need to interfere, in my opinion.
So to that point, I think there's only 15 Usos. So I'm not sure that 17 could show up.
Dude, I've wondered about that from your perspective. It's like, yeah, how many of them they got in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and how hard is it going to be to get them to show up?
You got Haku's three sons, Toma Tonga, Tongaloa, and Hikuleo. So there's three right there.
I mean, has Sami Zayn moved on?
Seems like it for now. It's like it's not something we can't just, they can't just call back to and it not be a problem. But for right now, it's kind of moved on. Actually, realistically, if you watch Raw, it's like Sammy's kind of in limbo right now, because I think they don't even know like the full extent. Like, I know Kevin Owens is hurt and they're tag team champions, but nobody's really said like how hurt he is. And so like, it's just kind of, because of that, it's like Sammy's just kind of floating right now. It's, weird for a guy that like a couple months ago was the most over guy on the roster.
Welcome to the professional wrestling business.
Indeed.
It's funny how you get to a point where it's like, as we mentioned AEW earlier, I feel like as the self-proclaimed casual fan, I get frustrated with AEW because they squash stories that I thought they were going to use, and then it like disappears out of nowhere. But then you get on the WWE side of things, and although I haven't been involved, it's just crazy to know that this is close to, I mean, like you guys said, over a 2-year period storyline and going to be even longer.
So to that point, let's tie back to the press conference. I believe it was after the last pay-per-view that Paul Heyman said they're only in the top of the third, I think it was, as far as the storyline goes. Bottom of the third. If you extrapolate that out, that means this is a 5 to 6 year angle. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, I think even somebody called him on that. I don't remember who it was. They said like, you're at the top of the 6th or close to the 7th inning stretch, or like this is going to blow up in your face.
I think it was Bully Ray that said that, like, this is not, you don't have much left on this. For me, like I said, I think Royal Rumble, it needs to be already resolved by then, in my opinion. I mean, because Royal Rumble kind of brings you into the transition to WrestleMania, does it not?
Yeah.
Sure, but again, you've got that payoff of Cody versus Roman, so we have to get there.
Yeah, Cody versus Roman has to be WrestleMania 40 at this point. If it's not the game plan, I don't know what they're doing with this angle.
Not to change the subject, but did you guys get a chance to watch the Cody Rhodes documentary?
It's on Peacock, isn't it? Or
yes, it was very, very good. Very well done. I was impressed.
I mean, I just got to log on to Peacock and watch it sometime.
That's your homework for this week, Drew.
Okay, can do.
Now, going back to Jey, some people said, which I don't buy it at all. I don't buy this whole I quit. I don't buy this whole he's on the alumni section on the website. I don't buy it. I mean, it was way too staged. I got to see it in person, like live on television, not in person, but on television live. Randomly, this is the show I decided to watch Friday night. But to me, I didn't buy it at all. I understood it, but also, Drew, to your point, when he said, I did this so that you wouldn't turn into him, I thought, oh, that's cheeseball. That's cheeseball 100% right there. Like, I wasn't buying that. And then when he said ooses, I'm like, nope, not buying that either. This is cheesy. This is really milking it at this point. And I mean, I haven't even been involved in it, but
You know, if that's bothering you, did it not bother you? If you go back and watch it now, it's like watch Roman during this entire thing, because the whole time that Jimmy and Jay are trying to sell this thing, Roman is in the background doing everything imaginable to not take any of this seriously. And it's like I thought Roman came off more cheesier than anything in this. It's like, but I also understand. I think that was supposed to be the point, was that, this is, they're trying to argue this does, what happened doesn't involve him, and he's just like, well, then I don't care, and you guys are a joke without me anyways.
well, we got some more segments to talk about. That's a good one. If you missed anything, go back and listen to the rest of the podcast. We started off with CM Punk drama, and second topic was Jey Uso, which we just wrapped up. And now we're going to finish it up with another controversial, man. This is like a whole episode of controversy, but let's get into something that Eric Bischoff even felt like he needed to give his 2 cents. And I'm just I see Kevin like giving his little smirk over here with Eric Bischoff, but MJF and Adam Cole, as we know, are going to be fighting each other in All In the for the championship. But they're also going to be fighting with each other, or they're going to be on the same team fighting in the tag team against Aussie Open in the pre-show. So not even in actually the show itself. It's actually an All In's 0 hour, which is what they're calling their pre-show. So Kevin, I'll throw it over to you. This decision seemed to ruffle a lot of feathers from the old school wrestling promo guys out there. Did it ruffle your feathers as much, or you kind of dig it?
Well, it's different. However, there's 2 concerns that I have with it. The first concern is you're potentially risking injury by having them on the opening to the pay-per-view. If one of them should get hurt, your main event in the pay-per-view is no longer going to happen. The second point to consider is you're now taking away from the pop that they get for their second match. And if you're buying the pay-per-view, you're going to see the reaction from the crowd if you intro them during a pre-pay-per-view match. And who knows whether they're going to go over or what angle they're going to work. And I don't even think it's going to be a full match. If it gets to be a match, it's some angle to involve Roderick Strong, so that there's some type of screw job in the main event on the pay-per-view. But when you introduce them for the pre-show and there's a third of the building in the building, you're watering down their pop. And then when they actually come out for the main event, the crowd's already seen them. A third of the crowd has already seen them. They're not going to have the same energy they're going to have if they were just coming out one time for the entire night. What do you guys think?
The last WWE pay-per-view I saw live, I think, was Night of Champions in 2019. And they opened that pay-per-view with the tag team champions, which I don't even – did they? No, they didn't fight FTR. It's like – I don't remember who they fought, but it was, the tag team champions were Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. And Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman were fighting in the main event as well for the Rollins Universal title at the time. So they came in, so the main event guys came in as the tag team champions, dropped the tag team championships, and then went on to face each other at the main event. And the reason I'm saying this is because I didn't like it then, and I still don't like this now. It's like, I don't think this does MJF and Adam Cole any favors. It sure as hell is not going to do Aussie Open any favors, as they're going to be the Ring of Honor champions. It'd be a complete afterthought. I just never liked this type of angle.
So I believe that the payoff here is that Adam Cole is going to turn on MJF during the match. But in my head, I'm also thinking maybe MJF realizes I don't go on before the pay-per-view lights go on, and he no-shows that tag team match. and Roderick Strong slides into that spot. And then Adam Cole and Roderick Strong go over against Aussie Open, which really sets up a conundrum for the main event. I also think we're going to get a dusty finish. I think that Adam Cole is going to win, only to find out there's some stipulation in that contract that he didn't read that pulls the belt back off of him and puts it back on MJF. That's what I think the payoff is here. But maybe I'm wrong.
It's like, I guess these would be two questions. It's like, I like your idea. I think your idea makes sense, but is Roderick Strong ready to go? Is he medically cleared?
I think they're working up the whole. I have never seen anything that he wasn't medically cleared, just that he's nursing an angle in the back.
Oh, okay. You know what would also be, this is me just, fantasy wrestling here. It's like, does anybody know how long it's like if Kyle O'Reilly is okay or not to go?
Yeah, the last report I saw was he was not going to come back from All In, and there was a question whether he was going to come back at all.
Okay.
Now, that could be a swerve.
It's like, I think definitely he might not be ready for All In, but I can't. Man, it'd suck if he never comes back. I see him attempting to come back.
Yeah, tell me something about what happened to him. Is he got a bad injury?
He had a neck surgery, from what I understand. I don't know what the extent of the neck surgery was, but it was pretty impactful. And I think he's in the same scenario of other wrestlers that have had neck surgery. It just takes time and then a medical doctor to clear you.
Yeah, I know. We didn't talk about this one, and that's because nobody talks about this one. It's like, I was looking at, like, they showed the thing where what's his name, Bobby Roode got, like, vertebrae fused together in a recent surgery. And I looked at that. I was like, nobody's talking about this, but I'm pretty sure that guy's done now. And nobody said anything about it.
Yeah, you got to remember, he hasn't been under contract for AEW for probably close to a year. And he wasn't wrestling for anybody else that I'm aware of. So, yeah, he just kind of slipped under the radar. But, I think it's kind of interesting that they showed the Kingdom with Roderick Strong the other night in the back, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Maria Kanellis. And if you go back to the history of Ring of Honor, the leader of the Kingdom was Adam Cole. So you've got plenty of different angles in which to work here. And I will say, I think Tony is interesting here because he's making me think. What angle do you go with? Do you go with Roderick Strong? Do you go with a refounding of the Kingdom? Like, he's got options. But I know that we are not going to see Adam Cole win the belt, but I think he will go over. But I think he turns on MJF, pins MJF, and then it comes out that he doesn't actually get the belt. That's my thought.
Yeah, so this is for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. I don't see MJF and Adam Cole needing those belts or even winning those belts. So to me, that makes no sense. Like, a traditional win makes no sense to me. Giving them those belts makes no sense to me. I even saw on Twitter, people were joking, AEW haters out there were joking, like, this would be the same. Like, just imagine if it was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus the Viking Raiders in the pre-show, or, like, that would be way more ridiculous than this. But I actually do expect it from AEW, just kind of like more off the script type things. So it's not super shocking from Tony Khan. It would be really shocking if he did have them have the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship title. So I don't think they win traditionally. I don't think they get the belts. I'm leaning towards liking that idea that MJF said, like, he comes out with some promo. Like, I think maybe Adam Cole comes out first, and then MJF comes out on the screen and says, "Hey, buddy, you got this. Like, I just need to really prep for my match. Like it's me. I'm the most important one." So I can see him turning it back on. Hey, you do you. I'll see you later tonight. Oh, when we face each other, kind of thing.
I was gonna jump in there real quick, just because I was sitting there, like he said, like, it'd be like Cody Rhodes and them fighting on the Viking Raiders in the pre-show, and I started thinking, it's like, no, it'd be like Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns being teamed up to face whoever the NXT Tag Team Champions are in the pre-show. And again, my thought was like, don't put that beyond Vince.
You're right. Anything can happen, pal.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
how do I get those NXT tag titles over? Oh, I'll put them on Cody and Roman.
But I think overall, what that pre-show is going to, and Morgan, I agree with you. I don't see them winning the championships. There's just no reason for it. But I think we're going to see potentially the first cracks in the foundation of the relationship between Adam Cole and MJF during that pre-show.
Wasn't Dynamite?
Well, they kissed and made up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still at the end of it. It's like there. I swear, didn't you see there was like he does the hug? You know, Adam does the hug that looks like the stabbing in the back, and then like if you're paying attention, like you can also see like as Cole starts to walk off, it's like he puts MJF's putting the ring on. So it's like they're both
Drew,
thinking.
Do you believe that Adam Cole is not going to turn heel in that match?
I don't know who's going to turn heel. I know who I want to turn heel, but that's, you know, it's like, it's whatever perspective.
I'll go on record making my prediction. I think we're going to hold predictions for the next episode. But I will say that I believe Adam Cole is going to go over. He'll go full heel in the match. We'll see the visual of him holding the belt, and then the stipulation for the match will be announced after the fact. That's how it goes down. That's my opinion. However, I don't know how we're going to get to the point of him turning, and we're going to involve whether it's Roderick Strong or the Kingdom in general. I think we're going to get that in the pre-show, and that'll set up the main event match. But again, my concern is reduced pop and the fact that you're running the possibility of injuring either of those gentlemen. They're going to be in the final main event.
So are you saying, let's look at the future here and the possibilities. Are you saying that MJF, after having a very successful heel title reign, and then kind of softening up here as a tag team partner from his like just hard-nosed heel, are you saying after All In London that he is going to become a babyface and he's going to change himself? Or do you feel like that this tag team situation and this storyline has already kind of, as I said, softened him enough to be a babyface? Or is he going to stay going down the road of, are you going to have heel versus heel in the future? I mean, I just don't think that you can. I do agree that MJF is your star right now. I don't see how you could squash him in any way or try or hang up his momentum.
So Morgan, let me ask you, are you telling me you wouldn't buy a t-shirt that says, "I have sympathy for the devil, MJF"?
I mean, I would probably not buy that t-shirt myself, but yes, I would. I mean, I could see a lot of people buying that t-shirt, and that is a great slogan, and you should probably go ahead and copyright that pretty soon.
I think that's the payoff here. We're going to see a tween. He is a cool heel. And I think that that's what we're going to get. And I really think that they should make that t-shirt after the match. More, Drew?
Remember when he was trying to gain, something from the crowd recently? He said, yeah, I'm a scumbag, but my goal is that I want to be your scumbag.
You're a scumbag. Yep. Yeah, the seeds are there. We just need to read the cards.
Oh, and let me ask Kevin this question, because this is just, when we're talking about this, I'm thinking it's like, we're trying to come up with how this, what they're going to do for All In. And, you panned out your idea, for how this thing ends. But what do they do with the fact that we've got All Out a week later? Do we literally just run this back again?
So what I've seen so far, and the only match that's speculated, is we're going to see the Elite with Kenny Omega and the Bucks against the Bang Bang Club. So it'll be Switchblade Jay White. It'll be Juice Robinson, and I forget who the third person is going to be in that tag match.
Cardblade.
Kenoshi Takeshita, I believe.
No,
I'm not sure about. What's that? I'm sorry.
No Cardblade.
No who?
Cardblade. The cutout of.
Oh yeah.
As that he's he calls it Cardblade.
Oh, I never caught that. And then I see that they're going to run the Kenny versus Kenosuke match. Oh no, sorry. There was 4 people involved. It's going to be the people I mentioned prior, plus the Gun Brothers, against Kenny, Hangman, and the Bucks. And we're going to get, wait a minute, I'm drawing a blank. I'm messed up here. Continue. I'm going to go back and look at the actual proposed match, because
I'll go back to Morgan. It's like here. So Morgan, we talked about, it's like, I mean, it's like when you leave it off on that, like, let's say Cole wins, but they find a way to not put the belt on MJF. It's like normally I'd think, okay, we're going to pan this out like a regular pay-per-view, but it's like you also have, for whatever reason, your most important AEW pay-per-view is somehow a week later after All In. It's like, I don't see how we end this definitively at all at All In when, like, we have All Out like a week later.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a way to definitively end it, because it really is just kind of getting started, So talking about your scumbag scenario, I mean, I don't really fully understand how you could have him lose and possibly lose by being out scumbagged. I don't know. I really don't know. You're not going to let MJF lose naturally. I don't know how it's going to go. It's going to be very difficult for me. I mean, but that's the joy of this match, is I really don't. I mean, I know you guys are telling me, oh, Adam Cole's going to get over, or he may win but not win the belt, or something may happen. But I mean, for me, I think I have a hard time seeing MJF losing. I mean, maybe it's just being short-sighted and not really seeing the build-up as much. But, I do think that it's a good championship match. And I do you guys mentioned All Out. I do think that that's a good match or a good card for then maybe to throw, Kenny Omega at the top, for that one.
I feel like this is the thing. Like, they had such it's like they got to what, 80 something thousand tickets sold at All In at this point. I'm not sure what the official number is. And it seems like selling the tickets for this was the easy thing. I feel like the difficult thing AEW is going to have to do here is sell me and probably every other wrestling fan on holding All In and All Out 2 weeks, a week or so apart from each other and still being, good.
So going back to the card that I mentioned before, I finally found it. And again, this isn't finalized. It's just being thrown around, but it's Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Hangman Adam Page versus Switchblade Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Kinosuke Takeshita. And then a week later, something is going to happen in that match that will facilitate a match between Kenny Omega and Kinosuke Takeshita at All Out.
Okay. I can live with that.
Sure.
Well, fellas, I appreciate the roundtable, man. It's been good. Episode 2, I told you guys we just get a little bit better as we keep going every single week. And I hope you out there listening enjoyed as well. This was our deep dive into the drama of professional wrestling, which is, what we love the most about it, honestly, to include the wrestling and Kevin the Bleeding, but more Kevin the Bleeding than me. But again, if you I hope you enjoyed our discussion on CM Punk, on Jey Uso, and on AEW's bold moves for their double pay-per-view, biggest pay-per-view ever, pre-show main event combo, whatever you want to call it, AEW's bold strategy. I hope you enjoyed our thoughts and discussions. Hey, don't forget to subscribe over to the podcast and give us a rating over there as well, hopefully 5 stars, and stay tuned for more episodes. Again, this is Morgan, Kevin, and Drew, and this is And Still a Wrestling Podcast.